from our bout in Istanbul, where it was pretty clear that Astralis were going to go ahead and win, at least get the finals. The MiBR were locked in early. Yesterday, however, we've got a bunch of players who only won one match and ended up losing or tying their second match. So the points are very split up. It's a very close match.
Most important indeed, but hello, Rez. What a way to start. He's got himself 4 headshots already. I mean, this is the first round of what is, again, a very incredibly important round of matches, and all right, why not pick up a 4K? Makes it look way too easy. However, he's still on for the ace because it's just Coldzera left. The MiBR have been dispatched of in the pistol. He barely sees opponents. That's it. That's Rez with 5 headshots in the opening round versus MiBR.
Instant ace to start off day 2. Why not? Rez continuing his dominance from yesterday. He was looking so good. I remember the round versus Astralis on Overpass where he almost pulled off a 1v4 to just really end them all. And here it is. Look at that. How clean he's looking with those. Oh my goodness, those 4K with the USP. Just beautiful stuff, shutting down the outer sight, and it really doesn't come down to strategy there. It's just Rez, you know, taking small peeks and putting each player to sleep with just a bullet or 2. And that puts NiP at an early start. 1-0 now, and this match is super important. For MiBR, they didn't win a match yesterday, so 0 points. For NiP, I'm predicting that they end up first out of every team in terms of points. So. All right.
So it's going to have to take some wins, which seem to be coming in dividends. Hello, Dennis and Get Right. We see you guys too. This is an incredibly rapid shutdown to what was MiBR's only attempt at a bomb plant, but let's get through those pistols. We want this, the gun rounds.
Yeah, so, you know, if MiBR drop this map, that might be it for MiBR. But in this map right now, they still have the hope to play 2 more matches after this. They're going to be trying their absolute hardest. They've got a great map here on Train to do it. They know how to play this map. This is the map where I would say, you know, Fallen is the king of this map. And it's always been a home map for the SK boys, as well as Cloud9 when they were together.
Right.
So, but kind of the best of both worlds on MiBR. Take them on Train. We've got a really tough map for NiP.
Speaking of those Cloud9 boys as well, this man right here, Stewie2K, he's actually the highest rated player in terms of opening kills on this map, and I think that's going to play into effect of the T side that they're obviously being challenged with right out of the gate. So he's got himself that AK. He's ready to rock and roll once this pause comes to a close, and therefore we'll see if he's able to rip NiP apart, because all we've seen so far is that ace and an easy B shutdown.
Yeah, no, very clean, and it was a lot of the MP9 kills as well, so tons of money made for NiP. So, what are we going to see here for MiBR? Are they going to go out quickly? It seems like there's 4 men making their way over towards Ivy. There's some presence to counteract their presence in the form of Lekro with an MP9. He's taking a little bit too much molly damage to just make that a cheeky play. I think it's, at this point, a bit too costly. And again, you're going to take nade damage whether or not you see the nades coming, play at the top of Ivy. So for this to happen so early on is going to be a nice sign for MiBR. And I would say this is definitely the correct choke point to crack open first.
Now at this point, Lekro does have a bit more support, at least to throw out some utility, because still, NiP have no idea as to where MiBR are at. A little counter grenade. Sure enough, we have that attention pulled back over. Forest here to help as the terrorists walk away.
Time's ticking down. They haven't made moves just yet. They were thinking about going Ivy. They suddenly have pulled back, but now have turned their attention once again to Ivy. The grenades are becoming low, and we know how many resources it can take to get control of this part of the map.
Now they've got themselves in that close proximity. Remember, they have lots of utility to play with here still, MiBR. They could completely nullify Lekro with a smoke. That would turn all the attention onto Forest, who has just laid down these flames. So we are really playing down to the wire here in terms of time. A quick reposition from Lekro. Looks like they're trying to get ahead of this Ivy burst. They're playing from within the bomb site itself. That's going to give Lekro a bit more positioning and enable Forest to keep his head on a swivel. He's turned back both ways and managed to pick up a couple of kills. Fur has gotten himself out into the train yard, but he finds himself alone. 1v3, cut down to 2, and he's trying to figure out where Forest's at, but there was no time and no assistance. That's a 3-0 start from the Ninjas.
Barely any challenge for NiP holding there. They just played 5 players outside, waited for the hold. controlled. MiBR got Ivy control. They had the player at Ivy extremely low with a bad weapon. There was a lot of ways for them to win that round easily, but the explosiveness really wasn't there when they came out of their choke points, just getting melted. As soon as that kill came down on the first player carrying the bomb out of Ivy, there was no one there to trade. Bomb site player stayed up, and that made it so simple for NiP. Terrible sign here for MiBR, who again have their feet to the coals. They absolutely need this match. And they've got to make it look good, because when all the scores have settled, I think round difference might come into play.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of liabilities in terms of the tiebreakers. So you want clean, convincing victories. Or hell, even just a round. But shouldn't be coming off of the back of this one.
No, not at all. Another eco, and they can definitely take their time here. There's no shame in that. If you want to work your choke points, go ahead. You've got the whole round to do it. It's much better than just getting melted on what was like a B rush on the second round. And Deagles need space and time to work.
Not going to find much space towards ladder, so that's why we have that single CZ there instead. Rez finds the best of the timing, you'd think. Nearly loses the duel, but Stu will still fall. So that's ladder control maintained for NiP. Coldzera caught over the top of the server box, and the Deagle duel for Fur does not go his way either. So one after another, sure enough, they've fallen.
That's it. 4 players fall just like that in their individual duels all over the map, and it's the biggest problem again is NiP just coming out clean on these anti-ecos, building up a bank already so early on into the match. Tarek is going to be the last player standing, and I still think he's got a pretty good chance to find a 1D if his crosshair placement is good enough, and there it is. Lekro is the first victim.
25 seconds up, not much to lose, so he rounds the corner and is added to the pile there just next to Lekro. 4 players surviving for NiP as they get that 4th round too. A couple of freebies have already gone their way, but you can see the firepower bar going to be evening up. That was a shaky fight. Luckily for Rez, Stewie runs out of bullets.
It was tough. Stewie had an awkward spot. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. It looked like from his POV that Stewie was the one to blame, but he got caught on the ladder. I think got 90 damage and was lucky to get that far. So, you know, I think justice was done. Justice was served in that situation. And now we've got a new round here, another rifle. Dennis dodges a flash, doesn't have to move off the angle, which is big. They throw that as a courtesy flash to let the CTs know that they're going through the appropriate motions. But because Dennis doesn't have to move quite yet, he's also got support right behind him. He's going to feel very confident eating a bullet, eating a flash or two, or even taking a peek on.
Stewie plays a dangerous game. That's going to be Dennis to reposition. Stewie seems to understand what's coming his direction. The flash actually elicits a bit of a spray down, so maybe now Dennis doesn't go for the peek. He's very wary as to what awaits. Fallen getting aggressive on Ivy. He's managed to find himself the opening frag, and this is a realm that MiBR have yet to find themselves in.
I love that Fallen was rambunctious and chasing that kill down. He saw an opportunity. We see Simple making that play quite often. When a Molotov gets thrown at him, he takes it and makes an offensive play as opposed to a defensive one. And Dennis takes a risk for himself as well. Could have got sprayed down coming down the ramp, but instead fall back.
Now we've got that pinch out cold, trying to close the distance for us. Hides up into the upper side of office, has managed to get himself a single kill, peeks wide, and has to be careful. It's a 3-pronged assault, and he's not going to survive it. That's MiBR to the board.
That's not so bad at all. And again, Fallen getting that opening kill was huge. They didn't actually muster that up the other round that they went to Ivy, but at least they did the damage there, and they know that they can continue to bully it. In fact, if NiP want to only have one player play here over and over again, there's just going to be too much pressure on Lekro. And in fact, I think as the IGL, he's going to be the most vocal about making a change, because fortifying Ivy is critical versus any tier 1 team. And it seems like today NiP, or at this tournament in particular, they are looking better than I don't know, I didn't remember the last time that I've seen NiP play this well. When I was doing points predictions for all the matches today, like just picking who I thought would definitely win their match, just going off of my intuition, NiP were top of the scoreboard, which is insane to think about. But with the form that MiBR are in right now, NiP, I think, have sniffed out a wounded animal.
It's nice to see NiP on train as well, actually. They haven't played it in all of October. Last time we saw them here was at the Face It Major. Of course, interestingly enough, versus who? MiBR.
There you go.
That map resulted in a 16-11 victory for the Brazilian core, who now have themselves a double op setup. So we saw in the previous round Fallen find an opening on Ivy. And immediately coldzera is going to take a much more aggressive stance. It's not that lurk out.
Oh my god.
And a double op because there's one over the shoulder. Cold, missing his first bullet. It's going to notify all of Ninjas that he is there.
Wow, they're going to be confused about this. Cold, oh my goodness, by the skin of his teeth gets out of dodge. But now Fallen has a target. Look at that, takes his time, and Rez falls right into the trap. Interesting setup for the double hop, the T-side setup. They don't even know coldzera was shooting at all, so they have no idea that there's two still. I don't think they shot at the same time. I think it's going to be still confusing for NiP to try to figure this out. But the mobility is going to be limited. They weren't able to recover the rifle that was left in T-Con, and now they've got to move into an execute. I think they could put these off to work, though.
Oh, but just before it seems like they're going to get rolling forward, it is NiP to get themselves into the B bomb site, and that's where they've managed to find themselves 3 frags. I mean, it's a crescendo of kills off of each and every one of those pieces. It couldn't have gone any better, but it does still give MiBR a chance to double back into the A site where Lekro has lied in wait this entire time. He's been so ready for this, but is Fallen ready to try and throw up a 1 versus 4? That AWP is going to be valuable. The investment that they made coming into this. I mean, they took a pause in everything. It's a leg shot. He can't finish him just yet. And as he does, Lekro's immediately ready to trade. That's a costly loss for MiBR.
Absolutely. The two important things for NiP were the rotations were swift. We saw that they were failing to rotate properly versus Astralis on overpass, but they still had a game plan for how they would play passive setups and then were able to hold versus side executes. In this round, they were ahead of the curve. They knew to go into B with 3 people, and everybody showed up. Obviously, Forrest having direct line of sight all the way to the back lines is a big problem for NiP. And then it was Lekro who made a great adjustment. So as we see him pushing into Olaf, he knows that if they come through ladder, he can get a free kill. So he goes ahead and does that. And then he can also fall back very safely because the cover of the trains are so monstrous, right? It's so difficult to kill somebody if they want to take a peek and fall off a second later. So NiP win the round that is going to put MiBR in a tough position. Do they want to force up and get 2 rifles, or do they want to wait maybe 2 rounds for the 3 people and invest a little bit here?
It's a tough call, and I wouldn't have to be the one to make it. Can't help but feel like seeing them go into that double op setup immediately might mean that they are trying to play a more conserved economy. But no, there it is. Change of pace, change of politics. They buy up into the double AK. They do sport an ump on top of it. Tidbits of utility for MiBR, and already a rapid stance from coldzera. We saw this last round with his AWP. He is one of 2 wielders of the AK. The second's Tarek right into the face of Lekro. Oh boy! Lekro's managed himself a 3rd. Ivy's shut down, and now they're going to whip back round and drop coldzera 2. It's a sweep from NiP.
And they're putting so much pressure on Lekro, and he's just coming through, and he's getting better and better, which is the other problem of losing a round, going to the same place over and over again. The player who's playing it either gets bullied to the point of having to switch off or get support from a teammate, or he plays it well enough that he just starts to learn and get more confident in the match. And so far, I think we have seen the latter with Lekro. He is feeling good right now. So fantastic 3K. And it does come down to the fact that they split the 2 rifles up, coldzera going out of T-Con, then the other going to Ivy. And so once he kills the rifle, the round's a whole lot easier. But still, the other 2 players had pistols, and they were there to rush. So the trade could have came out very easily. We wouldn't have batted an eyelash, but we don't see that reality. And instead see Lekro shine. Pistols once again for MiBR. They don't have a lot left. They actually haven't even bought a singular flashbang. I think they can use this as a free tac pause, maybe talk about things, see what is going on. But honestly, on their A executes, they just look terrible. They're getting melted coming out, and you know, even on their eco rounds, they're not getting a lot of kills. So overall, I feel like the confidence is just so inversely disproportionate right now for these 2 teams.
How can you be confident when you're working with little tiny Glocks?
Yeah.
Can't even put both hands on them.
It's true. Got to wrap them over.
At least maybe there's a argument to be made in terms of strength and numbers, but it's a strength that's immediately cut down. Rez with a couple of kills. We've got the Molotov at their feet that whole time and the frag grenade to come in, but there is still some success. 1 kill is all they'll take. MiBR down by 6 now.
You can really see what they're thinking with the going over to Ivy and over again, but I think that their game plan going into that, if it comes down to Ivy, it's obviously going to be all about killing Lekro. Thing is, they've done that on one of the few rifle rounds we've seen, and it still didn't result in a round win. They still have problems outside past that point. And I'm not sure that it's a tactical thing. It's definitely, in my opinion, looking more like a confidence thing than anything else, because they know what to do when they get outside. We've seen how clean their executes are. They're just not following through very well. And now I'd like to see what happens if they attempt it again. Molotovs crisscross each other to deny a push from either side. It's going to be quite clear to NiP at this point that MiBR like working on Ivy. And I think they can follow up on their success where Fallen can maybe get a kill, and then they can try to push into an execute one more time. Totally valid strategy. They did the hard part. Oh my goodness.
Rez, that's a very curious play.
Wow, very little information to do a push like that.
Hello, Georgie. Comes back up the ladder, and he's going to be cut down. The flames at his feet, and you know what they say, hot air rises. But off the back of that, NiP's still just going to start shifting those positions within Z. Dennis gets a bit closer with that AWP, and Ivy still all the while has been in question. Strength in numbers from MiBR as they work out through T-Con, and they've done so silently.
Oh yeah, and Lekra has made his position known as well. Fallen combines and gets a kill.
Forrest has also actually just snuck off into the ladder room. There's so many potential situations here to unfold, so it's just going to be individual duels first. 28 seconds, the bomb now spotted outside of T-Con. Forrest comes back, not realizing that the bomb site's actually in question. Here's Fur, and he only manages one kill. Forrest clears the board of him, and now 2v2 again. Forrest wins a fight. That's not supposed to happen. 10 seconds left up. Tarek's gonna go charging inwards. He's dealt more damage. Both of these ninjas on a shred of HP. And yet Tarek, he needs the bomb. He can't do anything about it. It's MiBR to lose another.
Oh my god, just before time runs out as well. And Forrest, what does he do that round? He gets 3 frags, and I was gonna say that the first one was critical. Killing Fur after that lurk and Fur only getting 1 frag is probably the most important thing, because that's all of the players outside. That's the escort to outside from inner if Forrest stays alive, and he gets the trade, and then he gets the trade, and then he gets 2 more. So that's pretty insane performance from him, just individually speaking. And these are the kind of plays that we're seeing MiBR have the most trouble with, but it's not what we normally see them have the most trouble with. Individual duels are where they shine. They're a team it's hard to pick out who the worst player is. And now we're back on pistols, and you know, NiP are checking all the boxes, winning rounds, winning the important rounds, winning the pistol round, the rounds that just like economically batter you. MiBR are winning their 1 round on an island, and so they're having the easiest route to the most amount of rounds.
Just making mincemeat of MiBR for the moment, who looks to be going back into that B burst. I mean, we've seen them here on pistols far too often. It's an unfortunate sight for them. And we've seen them here on ramp specifically again and again. So they'll try it yet once more. Get Right is flashed off of his position. They're going to try to use the lane to get that close proximity on Connector. It is nice, making the most of the utility they did hold on to, but Get Right's in position to try and catch a couple kills. Manages the first, second, how about a third? Cold's just down beneath him. Oh.
Okay, that's great that we got his POV on that, because that was a word.exe spray if I ever saw one.
And then the last 2 fall. Again, we talked about this, NiP checking all the boxes. Well, they've just gave MiBR a reality check. With such little pistols, you have nothing.
This is pretty unbelievable. And again, that execute looked fantastic. NiP catching fire. They actually use MiBR to break him up right in the middle of this, which is more of a sign of, you know, how economically desperate MiBR have been almost every single round of this game. At least here we get another rifle, but man, I did not expect NiP to look this good moving into day 2. You know, sometimes it feels like it's a one-off for them.
Yeah.
At this tournament, I think they have other plans. And Get Right there, just being too wise. Knowing how people play around those smokes is pretty much just his radar going off. Like this is what they've done. They've gotten so much territory. There's probably someone lurking out here. Let me go ahead and try to spam, and it's right into his face.
Got MiBR once more out from T-Con. They're going to be able to dodge Dennis. And yes, okay, they have won a duel, but Lekro even gets one at quite distance. It's the top side of the train that loses Dennis's life. Still back and forth affair, leaving MiBR with a slight edge here. Bomb's been put down to the dirt, and Get Right comes in from ladder room. All the while, Fur has 11 health.
Yeah, this is tough. He can't join his teammate. He's going to give up too much map control. If they're both spotted on one side, they're not going to be able to make a play. So Fur's actually trailing backwards now. It's just that Get Right is kind of aware of this, and Rez also is going to get a kill. I think Fur walks right into the spray and gets immediately shot out of the round. That is so nuts from NiP. What a recovery.
Incredible recovery, because we've seen MiBR consistently hit up that T-Con on the gun rounds and then go towards the B ramp when it comes to the pistols. You'd think Dennis being dropped out of the Z connector would have caused a bigger issue, but effective trade fragging and an effective flank from Get Right getting here into the ladder room, that maintains this portion of the bomb site where bomb was down.
Yeah,
I'm getting flashbacks to the way Forrest played a previous round from that very same position.
Yeah, he smelled the desperation, decided to take a risk on the inner push. We saw how confident they are with the play that Rez made, which in my opinion was extremely aggressive, not something you do if you're losing, for example. And so all of NiP, those are the risks you can take. You can be a little bit more flagrant when you know everything's working out. And in fact, that can actually help you spiral further into the lead. And I think that's what defines momentum, is when you have the confidence to make plays like that. So using it as just intellectual prowess is his court IQ, and just trusting his instincts there to make a push early in the round definitely paid off in dividends. So NiP already up to double digits. This is unbelievable to happen on land, on train versus MiBR. And it looks like MiBR are going to do something similar. And again, they had a good start to the round. They had that execute worked out quite nicely. Here's a false exec, though, to try to bait out counter grenades. We can see that sandwich smoke. It's meant to cut off line of sight from camera, from back six, and it causes all that spam to come out just to make the CTs waste a lot of utility and hold the rotations for a second, just to scare them.
Still MiBR not looking to take a bite out of anyone just yet. They've got that spread offense. Now we see the shift from NiP.
We've got to see better trades this round. That's been a big thing for them. You know, NiP, even though they're full execute outside, where are the instant trades? Where's the spacing? Where's the communication? It's tested to its absolute limit on train, but they are a team who have shown to be able to do that, especially on this map. So it seems like Fur might initiate some kind of peek, or someone to maybe just jump out Olaf for a second. I'm not sure. It's actually Fallen to come out with a quick entry.
Caught off by Rez's position. Still, we talked about that efficient trade fragging, and this time they've nailed it. Get Right and Dennis back into the clutch. Bomb planted on the other side safely. Tarek has the cover and the teammates to help. All the while, too, you've got Stu coming in from B. The flank brewing, and it's definitely going to find Get Right if he's not already dead. Here we go. MiBR back on the board most certainly, and if they can clear out Dennis, that's certainly going to help them, at least mentally, because you know that you are down in this moment.
Yeah, and it was definitely about time that they pulled one off. It's good to see that they're still continuing to be creative, innovative, find different timings for the execute. You know, a false exec into a one flash execute. It's kind of a contact play. That's something new that we haven't seen MiBR do. So it's good that they, you know, Fallen still has his head on his shoulders, that he's still trying to come up with stuff, and it feels like they're very much still in the game. I can't write them out until this game is absolutely over, because we know what this team is capable of. So NiP can take that L. It's a small round to lose, but MiBR is still absolutely at risk of just getting reset right now. I think they, with the money that they saved, it's going to be decent, but it's not going to be a fantastic buy if they end up losing this. I don't know if on this round we saw the same smokes from last round come out, but we see the setup is quite similar, right?
Yeah, very spread. Still, first point's going to be ladder room, but Rez is up close this time. Not behind the E-box, but rather just outside the door.
Man, you have to wonder what the strategy was for Fur to come out of ladder like that. Coming out of T-Con is one thing, because you can hide behind the sandwich train, you can hide in Olaf, you can hide and go back to T-Con off a flash and try to catch someone coming to ladder. But if you're Fur, you can get to E-box and then just get naded to hell.
And then coldzera's going to be providing us round 2. Steps out and gets back into cover, still has his life, but not all his teammates. Remember, 5 versus 4 here to the favor of NiP as they lock down the entirety of this map. Dennis up close towards B. Lekro cautious of some sort of Ivy play, but there's nothing there for MiBR, not yet. Fallen doubles back just to make sure there's no flank in position. He's also going to prime a smoke. So they hold on to their utility until they actually decide to commit. We have that secondary smoke coming out, bouncing off E-Box and allowing for them to get at least some closer footing. Stewie's going to go charging up parallel to the wall, and sure enough, does seem to find them by surprise, but he can't pick up a frag until finally he hits the head of Rez. So 4 versus 3, and immediately predicting that flank from Dennis, a play that's worked out all too often. But here we go, MiBR. We talked about their individual level. We talked about the way they win duels. This is a round that relied on that.
That was really masterful movement from Stewie after taking all that damage. The way that he swerved around the bomb site, using those headshot angles to his advantage on low HP, managing to dodge a player and then get him scared to fall off the train, and then picking up a kill afterwards on his teammate. Those are all incredibly important factors. Cannot separate them from the when you're trying to explain how MiBR are able to pull that off. So Stewie was integral in that moment, and because they win the 2 in a row, it's actually put NiP on the back foot. I think I saw a scout being bought there, very low money actually for NiP, and I mean, if this game ends up in a 10-5 score line, like it's, you know, that fantastic lead early on, catching on fire early on, none of that stuff really matters. There's still a half you can come back from.
Aggressive stance yet again. MiBR just looking to use this ladder room. I mean, it's been a key piece to their success in these previous rounds. Sure enough, they just sweep NiP underneath the rug. And we are immediately into the last round of this first half.
Yeah.
How's the cash for NiP? Is it good enough to buy?
Yeah, it just barely. They've got one in the pocket for sure. And MiBR, we can see now the strategy has changed a little bit. They've moved away from Ivy, which has been more of I think they have a sunk cost fallacy with it, where they're spending so much money, not getting much out. But because they keep investing, and I think their game plan was circled around taking Ivy control, that they kept wanting to do it. But now that they moved away from it, they've actually kept it quite simple. They're doing a false exec sometimes. They're doing a single flash pop with a back 6 smoke and hitting outside. It's worked out a whole lot better, and it's way more cost effective. So for their economy, it's worked wonders. And in general, they're not even losing players when they go outside. So why not do what works one more time? I think Inner is still on the menu. Obviously, they have some good executes that we've seen from them in the past on Inner. But if I'm NiP, I'm definitely worried just about the single flash pop execute outside. It's bare bones, but it's worked very effectively.
Ooh, MiBR going back to what they used in the very first buy round of their T side, that double op between Cold and Fallen.
So interesting.
Last time they threw it out T-Con. Both of those snipers in position. This time Cold's going to play a little patient, and Fallen will be thrown past the flames in order to get a pick, but yeah, nobody there yet.
Yeah, so is Cold actually Inner at the moment? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's just the strategy here is one op shot goes off, then a CT pushes. We saw Get Right push Inner before. We know that they've been weak to these outer executes, so we can see the thought process from MiBR. Almost certainly there'll be a push this round. We can still maintain majority of the people outside, and then we almost certainly get a free kill. But NiP have actually kind of read this, and they have decided to stick to a 2-3 setup. They don't know the op from coldzera is here, but they're playing like he is, just in case.
coldzera just salivating at the thought of a CT pushing up, and that's just not going to happen. I mean, NiP, they haven't been all too adventurous. Sure, we get those sometime flanks up through ladder, but only when we have MiBR already standing on the A site.
Absolutely true. Just 1 or 2 rounds that we've really seen it, and they have been points of conversation for sure, but they've been sparse. And now Stewie with ladder room control. Comfortable spot for MiBR. Not a ton of time to execute. It can take longer than you think sometimes outside.
Right, and we've got a player inside Z. We've got one on the high road. Lekro waiting to swoop in from above. Forrest calls that there's going to be a push through smoke, but still he's dropped by Fallen. And yes, that was the man above taken down. Rez finds a little bit of cover just close to the bomb plant as he rounds the corner. Stewie's going to deal with him, so this is MiBR with a plant. You'd think it's denied by Get Right, getting himself a second kill. He tries to fall back, and he's got a third. The time's not there. What a savior in Get Right.
What a way to win a round. It seemed like it was definitely over. The bomb could have gone down. There was 4 players up to cover that, and no one watched the jump up onto the train. Get Right found the only way that he could exploit the bomb going down, decided to take a huge risk, probably expected to die completely, but knew that if he threw himself out there in the 2v4, if he gets this 1 kill, they definitely have it locked up, and there it is. The stars aligned.
Oh, damn.
And honestly, that, in my opinion, is a round where, for MiBR, they're going to be thinking back on, just because the 10-5 half is makes so much more. It just seems so much better than having the 11-4 plus losing a round in that fashion to close out the half when you were just starting to show each other that you were going to make like good decisions, cover each other, everything like that. But they've got to wash it off. Think about the next half, because even though the game's not over, they're going to need full focus to come back. Pistol round now, and NiP had a fantastic half to look back on, to reminisce over. And as for MiBR.
And I think the beauty of what you just said about how that last round kind of unfolds and the negative effect that's definitely going to have on MiBR, talk about a positive effect to have on NiP. Right? You're thinking to yourself, just as you get to the closing portion of the half, you're holding yourself, such a substantial lead, and then no. It's going to be get right to remind you that individual plays can make the difference, and you're already so close to the finish line here on Train.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, NiP definitely needed an injection of confidence, and that could have been it. Get right, wide swinging with the Glocks, definitely playing with fire. What looks like a simple fake. Let's pay attention to the mini-map, see if the rotations are in, but there's already 2-3, so there's no really reason for Tarek to move unless there's an actual body spotted. And NiP just throw out that utility in case. Won't have too much of an effect on the round, one way or the other.
I mean, you can feel the tension in this round. You know what is weighing in on them.
Yeah, they don't want to get sold a bill of goods here. They want to be on full alert, not make any stupid rotations, but at the same time be prepared for any possibility.
Eyes wide open. Just waiting for that first indicator as to what NiP are up to. A couple of smoke grenades hitting the A site could be evidence or a ruse. And in fact, it's exactly what's going to come their way. Dennis charging forward, looking to close this distance. Tarek has actually managed himself a swift headshot, but he falls to Lekro too, and now it's NiP back in control of the situation. An early Gush versus Coldzera. He's on a quarter health, but he can certainly still do this if Lekro doesn't have that height advantage. 12-4, and NiP look to sweep the floor with MiBR rapidly on Train.
And maybe the execute in the beginning of the rounds just to keep MiBR in the 2-3 setup is good enough. Maybe that's the reason they won. We don't know if MiBR would have rotated out, moved into a 4-1, filtered that second player out of B, if it was the case that there was no noise at all, and here's two players rotating through the smoke that get absolutely decimated, so that's a big deal. And that's not a round that MiBR can let slip. This is looking very good for NiP at this point. I'm sure they can kind of taste it now, and you don't know. MiBR have decided not to force up. Knowing they get a buy in the next round makes a lot of sense. It's kind of nice now knowing that you can do this on such low rounds and still not have to swallow 2 rounds that you need to pistol on, so can be much more exciting more quickly. Obviously, any economic damage that they can get will be worth their weight in gold still.
You said that they could taste that victory, Launders. They could taste this opportunity, but what does a 12-4 versus pistol truly taste like? A golden truffle?
A little truffle salt.
A blue lobster? You know, something rare, something pristine, because bullying back MiBR when the last time they faced each other, revenge. It's got to be a dish served cold. Rez and Forrest pick up 3, and just as we expected, we go through the motions. 13-4 immediately for NiP. They played around with MiBR a bit, but it's business time.
Absolutely, and that was a kill that could have been very important. Forrest spinning around, it's pretty to watch, but it also counts for something. NiP furthering their lead, but also retaining a lot of what they put into last round. And here they're going to hang on to a couple of SMGs with the thought that maybe there's players without head armor, and that is the case. Tarek has actually picked up the op on the round. He was the only one who could afford it and doesn't have armor, but they needed to have one. Now, obviously, you want to get armor with an op whenever possible, but dropping the op to another player who has armor and you're not having armor for yourself just means you're going to get absolutely destroyed. But I've seen his stream. Sometimes he lays it down with the AWP.
Oh, yeah. Just got a gnarly 4K like 2 days ago, actually, here on Train.
Yeah, he's probably eating cereal for that, too.
With a golden spoon. Right now, golden flames blanketing the B site. Stewie going to be activated now. He tries to spray for a second, but can't contain it. Fur certainly can, at least with one more. Regardless of that front line, it's left us to the 3v3 and the damage substantial versus NiP. Forrest and Lekro barely alive, and Fallen's creeping inwards. He gets himself one, but the trade frag's been so efficient. Now Dennis has doubled down with a couple of headshots, and coldzera can do the same, but it's AK versus M4, so Dennis escapes. At least that initial fight. 15 and 13 health respectively for the remaining ninjas.
He doesn't have a kit. He's not even going to go for this. There's no way for him to win the round. He's actually just got to hightail it now. Even though NiP were so low, there's no chance for him to win. And a round that comes down to the execute. In my opinion, just a straight-up utility. Fur was on top of Pop Dog Train, had gotten flashed, moved backwards into a Molotov that lands on the back of Pop as well as the bottom, and it covers both of those things in case anyone's on the top of the train. What Fur didn't know was that he could have stayed on like 70% of that train, but was scared because he was blind. And the setup was made so that he could watch the lower ramp, and so that I think Stewie could watch upper. Instead, Stewie had to turn his attention to the right, which makes everything uncomfortable. And then Fur came into the trade, but he was running through that Molotov blind and took so much damage, so he couldn't even fight properly. Maybe comes out with another kill there. Maybe finishes off that second frag, one of those two players that was left on red health running away. And then we have a round where MiBR convert, so a great execute by NiP straight up. Tough to dodge those flashes. Sometimes you have to try to consider it beforehand where those flashes will come from, because kids are getting really good at these flashes. They have got it down to a science. You hear that pop, and then 1 second later, you are white for 4 seconds. So I don't know if Fur had understood that or where that flash might come from. It's a paint bucket flash on inner that is super common. That works really well. It's easy to line up as well. But it's not uncommon to play on top of the train. What sucks is when you have to fall off. And now we could move into one of maybe the few last rounds of the game, depending on how this goes for MiBR. They're putting it all on the table. Fomuses are out, umps are out. They've got some utility. And NiP have a great chance to move fast into this round versus low utility.
Yeah, because they've already used 3 smokes over towards the A site. That's why MiBR are a little delayed here on the rotation. It's definitely going to fall onto Stewie because that first rotator's already down, and he can't manage the numbers that start pouring into the bomb site. Get Right's on a tear, continues forward, nails another to the side of the connector, and he's left coldzera and Tarek alone in a 2v4. He's even managed another kill. The multi-frags coming in from Christopher are just supreme. coldzera revealed, certainly, and he's actually managed himself another, but it's a similar sight. He's walking away from this fight. It is a 15th round for the Ninjas in Pajamas.
But once again, they bully them out of B. Is simple execute, and again, they can play it a little bit more low-key, considering MiBR they know are low on utility and will be very tempted to force. Once again, going to OT, not an option. Right, like MiBR cannot afford to only have, well, first of all, for people who don't know, there are no OTs until we get to finals. So for MiBR, if they get to 15-15, they get 1 point instead of 3, and that means they are totally out of the tournament. So it's all or nothing at this point. NiP have this one wrapped up. What they're most worried about now is making sure they get the 3 points. If MiBR made this 15, NiP might not be in that 1 or 2 spot, which is going to be critical for them. And this is one of the games that I gave them hands down.
Yeah, and that's what it's been. Hands down victory so far for the Ninjas. So even if it doesn't boil down to the points from a win or a tie, you want that round difference too, right? We're talking about NiP getting into the nitty-gritty.
Absolutely.
When it comes down to the deciding wire.
No, it really is. I have them, coming out ahead in points over every other team in this tournament, but it is so close that it's going to be a toss-up between potentially them, Astralis, and FaZe.
Right.
And, we hope for the crowd and everybody at home who are fans of Blasters Astralis, that Astralis obviously make it there, but that number 2 spot is up for contention for sure. So I think for NiP, there's a couple of great things right now. They know they feel good. They took out MiBR on train, which is a huge victory. MiBR practiced for so long on this map that this is a win that they can look back on. And they didn't even have to play that many rounds, potentially.
Right.
So there's less game tape to look at.
Remember, we're talking about a NiP that currently holds a win over top of Astralis as well. They could be setting their sights on an easy sail for the rest of the day if they can maintain this form. An impressive set of Ninjas in Pajamas.
No doubt about it. So what do NiP want to do? What could be the last rounds? They have a lot of options, and they know that MiBR have gone for the force up in the previous and will have to once again do that. Do they know how much money MiBR have? I'm not sure. Stewie having an AWP might be kind of a surprise. He is amazing at the entries outside with an AWP on train. But this time, you know, he's on CT side. He's going to have to play it back a bit. And even on Cloud9, he did pick up the Opco Ivy quite often. He's used to playing on this map with an AWP.
Still, though, this is a slower round. You're watching the Boa Constrictor work. NiP have MiBR in their loving embrace. And it's just that final squeeze that they're looking to make happen over towards B. We talked about Stewie's opping, and he is going to be that first line of defense. Could have the rapid flank up from ladder behind, but he spots that second one. Perfect flashbang, and that's the bomb now across. The ladder room's being controlled by Forrest. He's managed to pick up Fur. And all the while, Lekro over towards Ivy managed another couple kills. So this is very much the Stewie and Tarek show, and that kill is incredible. It's followed up by Stewie with another one. Lekro's gonna have to go immediately into 6th gear, tries to charge over to the bomb site, and that's where Dennis sits. Like a goose on his egg, just waiting for Stewie to round these corners. He kills Tarek, and there it is, as they finish on fire. The Ninjas in Pajamas, 16-12